Homemade bread can get stale fast. Staling is caused by a process called retrogradation. There's lots of good YouTube videos explaining retrogradation, so it appears there's an unmet need for bad videos. So here it is, retrogradation in 30 seconds. Starch granules are composed of amylose and amylopectin. They bind tightly to each other via strong hydrogen bonds at room temperature, so tightly that they do not allow intrusion of water into the granule. When you introduce heat, the intermolecular bonds between amylose are overcome by the higher energy state of the system. The starch granules start leaching amylose and amylopectin into the surrounding solution and also allow water into the starch granule. The previously insoluble starch swells with all that water. Water is able to interlope the amylose molecules in solution. This is gelatinization. When bread is cooled down to room temperature or lower, the lower energy of the system leads to recrystallization of the amylose molecules and is perceived as staling, and luckily is reversible by reheating or toasting the bread. One way to stall staling is by using tangzhong. A tangzhong is a roux that extends shelf life of a bread. By pre-gelatinizing the starch, you can increase hydration of the dough without affecting workability or rheology, as the nerds would call it, because all the extra water is bound by free amylose. And here's how you make a tangzhong. Add water and flour in a 1:5 ratio onto a saucepan. Turn your stove on to medium heat and whisk frequently to prevent browning. You want a white roux, not a brown roux. And stir the mixture until it reaches 70 degrees Celsius or 158 degrees Fahrenheit. But I hear you thinking, but that's way too much work. And you would be absolutely right. Luckily, you can just use Thicken Up. Thicken Up is pre-gelatinized starch, so it can gel at room temperature without heating. Basically, they make a roux and dry it before it recrystallizes with techniques like spray drying or drum drying. Now, I don't know if they use a clothes dryer for drum drying, but I also don't know that they don't. So instead of going through the laborious traditional route of making a tangzhong, simply add Thicken Up and water in a 1:5 ratio. Mix and ta-da! Instant tangzhong. You're welcome, humanity. This isn't really a cooking channel, but I guess for completeness sake, I'll just make the bread. You add tangzhong to the water, salt and yeast. Mix thoroughly to get all those lumps out. Add the rest of your flour. Then mix until you get a homogeneous mass. Note how dry this looks, despite being a 85% hydration dough. Now, typically with a dough this dry, you might want to consider kneading it by hand, but last time I tried kneading it by hand, I got rhabdomyolysis. So, we're just going to use the stretch and fold method here. I do this 3 times, 15 minutes apart or whenever I remembered. Then let it rest covered until it doubles in size. You want to preheat your oven to 370 degrees Fahrenheit and bake for about 25 to 30 minutes. Wow, these look amazing. Just like how Nai used to make them. On the left is the bread made with Thicken Up, and on the right is the bread made with traditional tangzhong. They both look and smell amazing. I wish you were here to squeeze these right now. Anyway, let me know in the comments below if you want to see me do more videos with me actually cooking, or you never want to see me do this ever again. Thicken Up is also really handy in other ways in the kitchen. Let's say you want to make some gravy. Traditionally, you need to put butter and flour and melt the butter on the stove. Cook off the raw flour taste. Add liquid in parts, stirring frequently. There you have it, a decent gravy. But that took 2 minutes, and my arm's sore. Isn't there an easier way to do this? Hello, Thicken Up. Instead, you can take your chicken stock and mix it with Thicken Up and bam! Instant gravy. So apparently there's such thing as too much Thicken Up. This is more like pudding than gravy. Luckily, there's a reversal agent, PEG. Simply add enough PEG to reach the consistency that you were hoping for. I want to take a moment to thank the Institute for Safe Medication Practices for giving me this invaluable cooking tip. I guess you can call me an SIMP for ISMP. There you go. Back to gravy-like consistency. I guess the lesson here is, sometimes it's worth supporting an evil corporation as long as they make your life a little bit more convenient.